Okay. All right, Cold Pod.
What's up?
We're back. We're doing
Josh is an actor now.
I'm an actor now. We're doing a little slightly different thing today. We're going to do the classic podcast way. Where we're going to give you a little 10 minutes of us before our guest arrives.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'm an actor now. This is, am I allowed to talk? I guess I didn't sign anything.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to say what it is, but
we don't have to say what it is.
You got casted.
I got casted.
You got casted, bro.
I'm not going to lie. The last time I did an audition for anything was maybe 2008.
This is your childhood dream.
I know.
True.
I know. And like for what it is too, it's like even funnier that it is for what it is.
That's so sick.
Because I love beep. I'll beep that out. But yeah, it was like a really funny, like, yeah, it was just an interesting week because you were gone in New York, which we'll get to in a second. And while you were out partying it up in the Big Apple, I was here doing auditions, going to auditions and trying things out. And you know what? This could be a new.
I think this is a new chapter. I'm gonna do the next one.
You definitely like that's the joke of it all is that whatever it was, well, we know what it is, but they seemed to want both of us.
Hell yeah.
They wanted the two of us. And I ran into friends at this casting, and they were all doing it with their friends, and I went in by myself with some strangers. But it was sick. I got the news today, and catch me on a TV and catch me on a screen in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Screen or print ad near you.
But how have you been? How's New York? How was New York?
It was so much fun.
You gave me a little rundown, but let's dive into it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I don't know what I can't really. The specifics are blurry for me.
Fair.
But it was a blast, man. I miss that city so much.
It's an electric
I
town.
hate being that guy, but it's so fundamentally better than here.
But here's
in
the
a
thing.
lot of ways.
Here's the thing, though. You know, I had this exact same experience in February, being like, "Fucking New York, I'm back. I hate it." Da, da, da. And I think so much of that had to do with the fact that it was winter.
Yeah.
And, you know, you go to New York, which is generally a warmer place. Yeah. And you come back to Toronto, which is just like, and even when it's winter, it's like just cold enough, like more that it like pisses you off, you know? But this time it's like, I mean, I didn't go. Obviously, you had a blast. Yeah. But I normally, in most circumstances, would be like, oh, man, like, I'm like bummed I missed it. Wish I was there. Like, I don't want to be here right now. But it's summer in the city.
It's true.
So at the very least, you came back to just the same weather, I'm assuming.
Yeah. It was actually hotter here because it was the heat wave.
Yeah, true.
Which kind of sucked. But no, I don't know. I think what I realized this time around is like it's so much is about the attitude that New York inspires in you that makes it why like it's so great. You know?
Well, it's just when you have that many people in that tiny little island. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. You can be whoever you want.
Whoever you want. You can walk around. No one gives a fuck about you.
No, that's the thing. No one cares. It's like, that's why, you know, you see people just dressing, doing whatever they want. Yeah. Because here, you know, you're just going to run into the same people. Yeah. It's like, you know, the news cycle is so slow here. Yeah. Someone will be like, oh, yeah, Austin got a new hat. As opposed to just being like, who the fuck is that guy? Yeah. You know? Yeah. But
is that news?
we both tend to dress in pretty you know, we have our uniforms to an extent. Like I
actually realized, well, I think my like provocative clothing is a phase that I'm putting to rest.
Oh, you're gonna phase it out.
I think so.
What's next in the city?
I just don't. I don't want stuff. I don't want stuff that makes people look at me.
True.
You know.
So you want to just blend in.
I want to blend in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that is, you know,
I think it's a maturity thing.
Yeah, it is. It comes with age. Yeah. I mean, it's like I had a yard sale over the weekend, and I basically sold graphic T-shirts. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like so much of my 20s was just like, you know, a shirt with like a logo or like a label or like a band or like a thing. You know, it's like, And a lot of them had like pretty like out there graphics or like a lot of text or
Yeah.
things like that. And like, you're wearing a hat with a lot of text right now. Like, you know what I mean? It's like things like that where someone goes like, what is that?
Yeah.
I want to know what that is. And it's
Yeah.
like a way to like talk to people almost.
Yeah,
versus-
which is really nice. Like I got like whenever I wear stuff like that, I do engage in so many conversations. But I think the thing that fucks me up the most is that like people see it and they assume something about me.
Yes.
You know, it's like one extra level for them to be like, oh, I know who this guy is.
What, a guy wearing a God hat being like, I bet
Yeah.
that guy believes in God.
Yeah, it's like you don't know me. You know,
You don't know where I stand.
and a lot of the shit I wear is I don't know.
Well, because it's also
Stupid.
you
It's fucking-
tend to wear some ironic pieces.
Yeah.
So I think that in a sense will always create some confusion.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Yeah, I was literally wearing like this hat with a shirt that says "Happy, Horny, and Strong."
I was
with,
gonna
like,
say,
Len lyrics,
I was
and
gonna
people
make
were
the-
like, "What the fuck is this guy?"
I was gonna make the
and I'm
exact
like, "What the
same-
fuck is this guy?"
yeah, I was gonna say like it's like you wearing your sex T-shirt, but
Yeah.
that hat. It's
Yeah.
like, huh.
I don't know if I want to be,
Well, here's the thing. I will always remember recently, not even recently, sorry, a couple years ago, but there's certain shirts that I would wear that would have, either like, one was like LA Club Resource, like
Yeah.
this label I used to love.
Yeah.
And like, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, like that's my thing. For if you know what it is, that's so cool and we can talk about it and blah, 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 blah. But then I would have people coming up to me, just randoms on the street being like, LA Club Resource, what's that? And I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Ugh, like, leave
Well,
me
I also
alone."
think it's like it's not the people that understand it
right.
that it creates conversation with, which
Yeah.
that would be a different thing.
Yes.
Because it used to be like we've talked about this before, but it used to be like what you wore kind of was a calling card for who you could then become friends with.
Right,
And
right.
now it really isn't.
No, and that's
if
actually-
anything, it's like a deterioration, a deterrent for people.
Yes.
You know.
Well, I think also just because, and we'll save this later for our guest because this is kind of and kind of leads into it. But I think sort of some of this, some of the fashion stuff and like the way you dress, the way you present yourself to the world, no longer equates to like who you are.
Yeah.
Where it used to be, where it very
Exactly.
much was about like dressing for your personality.
Yeah.
And now it's. But then there's always going to be the back and forth because a lot of like early hardcore fashion was based purely on opposing that.
But now, how many people do you know that dress in early hardcore
I know.
fashion that
Oh,
don't
I
know
know.
who fucked up is?
I know. I
You
like
know?
I remember like actually I won't say who, but I remember meeting someone recently, like classic kind of like, shaved head, like, tucked in white shirt, and I was like, oh, this guy's like a fucking like sharp. This guy listens to like hardcore. He's got covered in tats. Da, 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 da. It was listening to Lil Uzi Vert.
Yeah.
Instead of his phone, I was like, which again, sick. No disrespect.
Yeah.
Listen to whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
But was still a funny. Just like I was like, oh, and like that's what like normal guys that like listen to like top 40 rap music dress like.
Yeah. It's gone all of the like the connections have gone so astray. Like
Yes.
they no longer connect to what
But
they
then
come
how
from.
do you dress? That's the question.
I don't know. That's why I don't know. I'm
Like-
just gonna wear stuff.
Like there's
shit.
things that I'm trying to also phase out of my life, like hats.
Yeah.
I'm always a hat guy. I
Yeah.
love hats. But I'm trying to
Yeah,
like,
you have been wearing less hats.
I know. I've been trying to be like, you know what? I got a good head of hair. It's
Yeah.
it's healthy. It's curly.
Yeah.
Show it off.
Get it out in the world.
So that's my thing. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to maybe wear less like shorts, even though I do like wearing shorts in the summer.
True.
I'm trying to go for a more. But again, it is sort of reverting a little bit into a. I don't want to use the word classy. It's
The
not
thing that
necessarily
pisses
classy
me
at
off
all.
though is that everything that you could possibly wear is like some kind of statement.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
even if I were to go and dress like completely normal,
Yeah.
that's a statement in itself.
Well, yeah.
If I was like, if you start wearing ties, which is a normal thing to wear in most fucking things, that's a statement. It's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
Well, look at our boy the Dare. He's wearing a tie.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, and that's and it's I don't know. This cycle loop right now is so frustrating to me
Because
and
it
it's
moves
not
too
because
fast.
I want to be an individual. I think this is like that. Like speaking of the documentary that we're about to talk about. So much of it is, this gets tired and this starts to become a uniform.
Yes.
And so I'm going to break out and do this. That's not why I want to do this. It's if anything, I want the uniform. You know?
I don't want the uniform.
I would love the uniform.
Because I love the idea of at least having one, like even for example, the way you're dressed is not crazy at all.
No.
But you have the one little like statement piece.
Yeah.
The one that just goes, oh, the guy that like had the funny hat.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I think that's kind of sick. I think
maybe
that's
it
sick.
is. I don't know.
That's just me.
Yeah.
But anyways, we do have a guest today. He should be on his way very shortly. Kevin Hegge. He's a writer and director from Toronto. He's actually an old friend of mine. I've known him for quite some time. And he used to give me some attitude at the old record shop back in the day. And I'd love to dig into that with him a little bit because he's got incredible taste in music and I'm sure some incredible stories about that era, which ties into a lot of like our older episodes.
Totally.
And he directed and wrote his latest film, which is called Tramps. And it's screening June 22nd at Hot Docs. Kevin should be here any moment.
Hi.
Welcome. So we got to jump in straight away to Tramps, which both of us just watched today, like
fresh on our minds.
2 hours ago. It was incredible. I absolutely loved it. It was about something that I honestly, you often think that certain types of people think that they know every little micro scene and micro genre of all of these things, and you get to this point where you're just kind of like, I know about it all.
Mm-hmm.
And then this comes along, and you're kind of like, wait a minute, I didn't realize that there was this scene that spawned a lot of things that we'll get into in a second. And I think it's sick to like showcase something like that because there's so many things that like you think you know everything, and then all of a sudden there's these lost little scenes throughout history that don't get a chance to really shine.
But oddly, the iconography from all of that felt like really familiar to me. Mm-hmm. So it felt like uncovering some kind of thing that I must have seen online or something, and uncovering like the backstory behind it.
So let's first of all, what made you want to make this movie, and why the New Romantics? Why was this something that you wanted to showcase to the world?
It's weird because like even just that little like intro moment question, like it's hard to explain because the New Romantic thing was a sort of major thing. Like when I was really little, like my sisters who are like, let's say 10 years older than me, whatever, they were really into like Boy George and Duran Duran. Like it was really, really normal to see these guys dressed up like in frilly, I guess, frocks or whatever you would call them. And like Boy George, I was too young to know that there was this whole
Hold
thing.
it a little closer.
Oh yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if I was being too loud or not.
No,
I'm really
loud.
loud.
That's good.
I didn't know that there, like I discovered later in high school and everything, that there was this thing of like young teenagers thinking that Boy George was a girl and like being attracted to him and stuff I didn't discover until I was like older and having this queer mind thing starting. And I really loved the deception of all of that. Like I just thought that was a super punk thing. And but like didn't necessarily have a vested interest in bands like Duran Duran or whatever. Like I mean they're great, whatever. It's just like it wasn't even necessarily a guilty pleasure of mine, but I was kind of predisposed to like British, like UK subcultures and you know what I mean? Because like I was of the era where like Britpop was like the main thing, and like so Obsession is like totally a part of that kind of fandom, like from that era. And I'm also just kind of an obsessed person. Like I've never been chill about anything. I'm just like obsessed about everything. So the way it started was like I'd always wanted to go to London, and like that gets in. Of course, as I got older and got way more into music and had like knew all this minutia about scenes and stuff like you were talking about. Like I was just hungry for all that, and like types of people that I guess we are or whatever. And so there was so much there, and also I was into fashion and art and blah blah blah, and just the UK had a lot of draw for me in that way. So I did my first movie in like 2012, and that was about a punk band from Toronto that was super niche. And then the themes in that were like squatting and like kind of like living totally precariously, like
which
DIY.
exists in this film too, though.
Well, that's the kind of thing, is ends up being kind of a similar film because so all of these themes in my first movie were really about me being like wanting to contribute back to the scene around me, because I was kind of in the indie rock scene and then getting more into like punk shows and stuff, and I was working at a record store, and I just kind of didn't feel like I was contributing so much to the conversation. And like I was writing for Now Magazine and stuff, just like stupid like CD reviews or whatever. CD reviews. That is like weirdly real. That was the format. And anyway, so yeah, I started making the Fifth Column movie, and then all those themes about kind of surviving like in a kind of reactionary way, like reaction to the dominant culture, like in Toronto, because I wasn't really stoked on Toronto anymore. All my friends were moving to Berlin or wherever, and I was like stuck behind, not stuck because it was a great place to be in, but like at the end of the day, a retail job.
Yeah.
Right.
For a really long time, for like 8 years or something. And I was kind of like feeling like a loser. And then, but I went to school for film. So then I started, I had this idea to make this movie. So I did that. And it ended up premiering in London at the BFI Flair Festival because this woman, Nazmia Jamal, it was a Riot Girl. And I don't remember how she came across it, actually. But she ended up programming it in London, and they flew me to London and like put me up in a crazy sick hotel for a whole week. And like, and I was just like completely... I was like very stoked. I like got the newspapers and like photographed them. I think they're on my Instagram. Like,
I mean, as you should. There's no embarrassment.
And
to
I was
being
like, this is the cover of the Daily Mail the day I arrived in London, and like I was really, really stoked about it. And then almost immediately, like I just started meeting people who, by association, like recognized their names, and like. And everyone just seemed really around. Right. These are the Boy Georgie type people, but not Boy George. And it's not like I had some sort of obsession with Boy George at all. It was just like he was one of the many things that I loved. I love Boy George himself because I've always recognized him as like a punk. And I guess I really love knowing something that other people don't know, and kind of and whatever thing I am trying to work on, like I'll try to kind of find a new way to talk about it. And if anything, that's just because you don't want to say something someone else has said. You don't really want to wear something someone else is wearing. You know what I mean? Like it's not rocket science. Like some people are okay with that, but for me, it's like just not, it just bothers me. So anyways, I met this guy, Jeffrey Hinton, and a friend of mine who was an artist from here. I won't call her crazy, but if you're listening, you're fucking crazy. And she introduced me to Jeffrey Hinton, and she's like, "Oh, did you know he was good friends with Leigh Bowery and Michael Clark and all these people?" And like I'm like literally my hair is standing up because like I was like, "Holy shit!" Like wow. And then she introduced me to Jeffrey, and he was just the nicest guy. Wow. He didn't come see my movie, but like afterwards, he was like, "Let's go out for pints or whatever," and he took me to these, I don't know, like if you've been to these places in London, but like in East London, there's like Vogue Fabrics and like Dalston Superstore. They're, and also like people like No Bra. I was like a big fan of No Bra and like Arca, and all these people were kind of coming out of that East London. Actually, it was kind of ending at that time. Right. But like we were going to Vogue Fabrics, and they were like closing the shutters on it. Then Jeffrey's like jumped out of the cab, and he's like, oh, open back up. This is my friend from Canada. And like, they would open the bars, and like they would like turn the bar on just for Jeffrey, and like basically discovered this crazy person, a brilliant person who through our initial conversations, I realized he had videotaped everything from the late 70s, early 80s.
This was a question I really wanted to know, because oftentimes when you look at some of these documentaries, a big part of it is the archival footage.
Well, it's a question of access, right? How did the access?
Well, that's the brutal part. Because basically he had never shared his archive with anybody because he was really, understandably torn up, and like, or what's a more classy way to say that? Like,
well, he's precious.
He was living through he was precious of it because like 90% of his friends had died.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it was just like a photo book for him, and obviously video is way more intense than like photos even. And basically this last 10 years of my life have been trying to like get to a place of honesty and trust with these people where they would trust me, because it either be really established filmmakers or people like Jeffrey who just have a personal, like he's a video artist and makes films, but not in an industry type way.
Yeah.
So in various capacities trying to gain people's trust to share that stuff. especially like not having money to make it. So I really, really wanted to access Jeffrey's archive, and I, to this day haven't. The only way he'll play it is if he's live projecting it, which he's going to do at the screening in Toronto.
Sick.
But but London's just amazing because I don't know, it's just like I kind of was just like stalking people, and like people are just more chatty in a way that they'll be like, oh, you should talk to this person, talk to that person. And a lot of them are like big wig people who did like music videos I watched as a child. I'm like, oh, here's just all the crap from that. I don't remember, and you're like,
you're like,
yeah. So like, actually just, so like Jeffrey aside, because he never ended up sharing, he shared, I think like there's a 1.5 second clip from his movie, which wasn't supposed to be in there actually. Sort of an accident, but he let us keep it. But anyways, it just started this obsession of me talking to Jeffrey about this place called the Warren Street Squat. And that's a squat that I knew of it because he had just done a thing at the National Portrait Gallery, and he was going through photos, showing his photos and videos, and there's all these London hoo-ha's there. Hoo-ha's? London people. And they there was these stories I read on, I can't remember, Dazed or something, and there was a story about how Boy George, he was talking about the Warren Street Squat or something, and there was like a phone, because like one squat would have a phone, and then one squat would have running water, and then I got this thing in my mind, like this geography of squats, and I thought that would be cool to kind of show that. And apparently Boy George was like, wait a minute, there was a phone line there that whole fucking time? I was running across the street to the payphone, and like that was the kind of like genesis of the idea of the movie, was that. So that was kind of the genesis of it, and then it just ended up me trying to meet people and get stories. And so at first I was asking about one thing, and then like flash forward to now, the movie is completely about something else. And because the New Romantics.
Well, what was it initially supposed to be about that?
Well, it was supposed to be about the squats and everything.
Right.
And then basically like how everyone was interconnected, because I guess the story goes on pretty long, but like I came back to Canada and I was obsessed with this guy, Michael Clark, the dancer who's featured in the movie. And I was working with a Toronto like dance company at the time, not the Toronto Dance Company, but it's Public Recordings, they were called. Amy Henderson's dance company. And I love Michael Clark, and I had posted on Facebook after Jeffrey and I became friends on Facebook, why can't I see these early Michael Clark shows that are like legendary? And he kind of wrote me right away being like, why are you asking about that? Because there was this flash forward or back when I was working on Unlovable, this girl, Erin, who was a friend of Sarah Millman, like Rob Gordon's, an East Coaster, she came in her and I just started talking about Michael Clark and Leigh Bowery and stuff. And she told me how when she was in her first year of college or whatever, she like flew over to London and did her like whatever project on Leigh Bowery's clothes as fashion objects, as art objects. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, what? And she told me these crazy stories about how like Michael Clark was on, like, he was addicted, he suffered from addiction or whatever, and had bailed on the whole professional thing that he had going. And at one point in time, he had like a warehouse in North London that got raided by the police because they just weren't paying for the rent or whatever. So they would just open it to the public, and all these people came and got all of this stuff. And in that warehouse was the documentation. This is what I found out from Jeffrey, but all of the clothes and everything that Leigh Bowery made, they like ended up raiding. So there was this guy, Mr. Pearl, who did all the corsets for like, the major fashion houses. He was like wandering around whatever Kensington or whatever marketplace and saw one of his pieces. And then, I don't know, so the story goes, flash forward to like all of these drag queen type freaks running around the city to the markets trying to get all these like precious garments. Or just scoring them and being like, fuck yeah. So that story blew my mind. And then flash forward, if everyone's keeping up with the flashing backwards and forward, I came back from London, and Jeffrey, he's like, why are you asking about those videos? And I was like, well, because my friend told me this story. And he's like, well, you can't see the Michael Clark footage because I shot it. and either he doesn't share it, or B, they were in that warehouse that got raided. So the reason you can't see any of those shows, I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Like, this girl told me this story at the bar I worked at. This weird Canadian fashion friend of mine. Like, it was just crazy. It was just so many coincidences and stories that I'd somehow heard that I shouldn't have known.
Right.
That all tied together. And then, to be honest, the rest of making the movie was like that too. Like, every single thing was like one coincidence leading to the next, or serendipitous thing leading to the next, and like there was just like right up to today. I feel
like documentary filmmaking reminds me in a sense of sort of like a choose your own adventure kind of thing, where as you step forward into the story, like certain things, it's almost like a video game. It's like things get unlocked and someone goes, well, actually this person actually might be able to help you find this, and you end up like sort of like creating this like map as you go through the world, like, you know, putting together this film.
Yeah, and it took so long to do too. Like, I would drop certain things into like the universe and then work with some people, and then all of a sudden you'd see it on like BBC, like people that no one had talked to, and I'm like, that motherfucker like stole my, you know.
Really?
Yeah. Some shady people out there if you're listening. And so I had to keep on like reinventing it.
I see.
To make it like something that no one else would do. So that's why things became more and more about survival, especially because I was broke as hell.
Yeah.
The longer it went on, like you can't really get a job or anything. So it just became more and more about like survival, and themes became less about like squatting and everything, and less about the music that was literally dominant at the time, to kind of a more I hope a more universal message about like creative communities and survival and the different things that try to destroy your ability to make like whatever kind of artwork you want to do. Yeah. And that includes just like going to a club.
Yeah. And that's something that I loved about the film, was the fact that I went into it thinking it was going to be pretty music oriented, and it's not. And I enjoyed that.
No, me too.
Because it sort of showed what has existed in like all of our lives in creative fields and creative worlds that we operate in, but the sort of like, you know, how broad these friendships go into different mediums, and that all kind of creates these things in the long run. It's not
it's
like
about the people, not their outlet necessarily.
Yeah, it's not,
you know?
or their medium. You know, it's not just like, oh, a group of musicians did this thing. It's like, no, it's like there were other people around, you know, taking pictures. There are people like designing things. Like that's what was so fascinating to me, is that it wasn't just.
Which I think is the thing that we should be, or I think we are most interested in, is the people behind the masks. You know, the actual people behind the music, and to do this in a documentary that almost bypasses the musical output that these people are having, and you really get to see it as not bypass, but you know, but you get to see them as people. Like there was artists in there that I was like, oh, that's who that was. That I was, you know what I mean? That I was just sitting with for an hour and a half. You know?
Yeah.
It's weird because my intention was never to have most of those bands in the movie. There was only like 2 songs that I wanted in the movie, and one was by Leigh Bowery's band Minty, the song Useless Man, which he's just going shit eating, motherfucking cocksucking, and it's just a part in the movie that's just like really, really trashy about him. We ended up cutting out that scene, but and then one by Mark Moore, who did S Express, and it was just a quick cut showing him in a pop video, because he had this major like trance pop band, and those were because of licensing costs,
right.
But I was really hyper aware of like, I didn't want the movie to feel like we couldn't afford like David Bowie or like what I mean. The thing is, it's a bit shady because bands like Spandau Ballet and Duran Duran, and like there's tons of amazing band, like Ultravox is an amazing band. Like there's so many, you know, but like Visage and stuff, we talk about Steve Strange, but it's my movie, and I wasn't really like listening to those bands, and it wasn't really about. It was about the music, but the music was just kind of like
sort of like the background,
a
like
thing
the
that
backdrop.
Brought people together, like in clubs and everything. And yeah, a lot of them are their friends' bands and stuff like that. But it wasn't the thing that was super interesting to me. And because I was working with Verity, Sussman from Electrolane, really early on in it, I wanted the soundtrack to be the thing that, because people are always like people like, I don't know, the Canada Council for the Arts, saying, you know, I don't know, just people saying, well, why would we do this? You know, why now? Like, we don't want this to be a nostalgia thing. Like, you know, I applied for money from a bunch of places, and like, oh, because I did my first movie all on Arts Council stuff.
Yeah.
And I, being a completely unprofessional person, unless you want to hire me, I am professional. Like I was like, okay, I want to try and get like some funding. Like I went to like places like Vice or wherever. I had money at the time, and tried to get funding in that professional way. And a lot of people were like, well, we're not funding that kind of documentary right now. You know, we're funding like this kind of documentary right now. And like, so they would always say like, oh, we don't want it to be a nostalgia piece. But I was like, neither do I. Who wants to spend this much time in their life? And I hate movies like that.
Yeah,
like, I was there. I wasn't there. Why do I care that you were there? Like, I wasn't there. What is that going to get me or any of my friends knowing that you were there? Like, what? It's just, I'm not interested in that. And the people that are funding you don't know who you are or what you, like, there's no reason for them to trust you other than what you write. And like, no matter how hard I tried, everyone was always saying like, oh, we don't want to fund a nostalgia piece. And I was like, well, fuck you. I'm going to like, I wanted it to be about now, and I wanted to keep people in seats. So the music for me, I really wanted it to bring it into the contemporary sort of world. Like, I didn't want them to try and recreate or make Muzak versions of songs that, oh, it seems kind of familiar. It reminds me of the 80s.
I was gonna say.
You know, I was like, do whatever you want. Like, and if it makes no sense with the scene, then do more of that. Like, just like go into it. Like, and they were just starting as a band, Memorial. It's like they hadn't really even formed that, you know, they hadn't really become a band yet. They just wanted to do soundtrack stuff together. So I think they were just kind of like playing with all that, and it allowed, well, I hope it allowed them to make all these new noises and stuff that, so the music for me really is like a separate part of the movie. It's like not an accompaniment to the visuals.
Yeah, to the time and place of the
it's like a totally different thing on its own. And I don't know, I've only got like one. Wait, that sounds really bad, but it's true, sort of. That'll probably change once I say this, but like there's only one person who gave us kind of a shitty review, and they were like, the music is relentless, like shut up, we can't hear people talk. But he was really old and French, and you know, so that might have something to do with it. But yeah, he didn't like it. But yeah, the music is like relentless, you know, like never stops, and it almost like.
I think Kat Duma did some of the score as well.
Kat Duma did some of the score. In the closing credits, Kat Duma composed a piece for the end credits, and I wish that she could have done more. But like Memorials did the entire thing, and like watching Kat write her record, you know, while this movie was happening, and like while I was kind of finishing it up, I really wished that I'd had the opportunity to like kind of segue that into it more. So we did a little like smattering at the end, and hoping that like develops into something else.
So what, like, if not the nostalgia, because I first of all appreciated that it didn't lean into the nostalgic aspect of that era, you know, what was the major interest for you in relation to like the modern day, you know, like what was, because I feel it, but I'm interested in knowing what you thought of that.
It was like, I had made this first movie, and then I was really hungry to make another one, but it was hard to do that, like because of the lack of funding and everything. And it was really gratifying with my first movie because it happened really quickly, and it was a completely different scene back then because like people would fly me around, like it was bizarre. Like there was so much money in the film festival thing, and of course I wanted more of that, but also latching onto this community that I had met when I was in London, and just like how tangible they felt. And I've always kind of had friends that were older, or like were in older, what do you call them, like mentors or whatever, have been my friends. Like I've never been like, oh, I'm hanging out with people my age. People either been like really younger than me or really older than me.
Same.
And I feel like I learn more from people that there's that discrepancy with, you know, and it really was like this fascination with London, but also, you know, I was thinking, how do I live here? Like, how do I do this? How do I like survive? Like, and that's why in the subtitle of the movie or whatever you call it, the log line or whatever, I never really straightened that out, but it says like the art of survival, because to me, the movie really is about that, because I asked everyone the same questions, and it was like, and I do this when I'm interviewing bands too. Like, did you ever think about giving up? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you still in a band? Why? Like, it's pretty fruitless. Like, it does mostly suck. Other than like making a great record or like making a movie that you finish, you know. But like once that's done, like what I'm experiencing right now is this discrepancy between like valuing what you've done but wanting more, like wanting the thing that you see. And I think that's understandable in the Instagram world, right? Where you're kind of always...
you're always not aspiring, but you're always... I think I would argue that that's maybe even beyond Instagram. I think in any sort of art form, because you're constantly creating, there is no end.
Yeah.
My sort of theory has always been that you're just constantly keep going because like you're not gonna stop making films. Like you love doing it.
Well, that's the thing. I was looking for some sort of answer. Like, did you ever, like with Princess Julia or whatever, like I was like, did you ever like want to become a banker? I couldn't. I've done this in every interview. I can never think of a job because I've never really had one. I always say banker, but like I think I'm an accountant or like CEO. I don't know. But
did you ever think about becoming a CEO?
Yeah. Did you ever want to become a CEO instead? No, but everyone, you know, I was really looking for that because I was kind of like, I could see how precarious everything had been for me since having a retail job. Like, it was kind of easier. Like, should I have just done that until I was dust?
Right.
And it was really just, it just became a selfish, really a selfish kind of like self-help thing where I was trying to figure out, and also like, because my job at the record store was really about like, people really perceived you as like knowing things that were cool or like as being like a life force or whatever, and like not feeling like that. I was worried about that fading and how people stay interested in things. Yeah. Because there's that saying, I think there's a saying, that's like, if you're not interested, like the quickest way to become not interesting is to not be interested.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why I get so worked up and people are like, oh, you know, like the whole jaded record store thing. It's like, actually, no, I cared too much about stuff. I cared too much about stuff, and I'm freaked out by the fact of like, I'm too freaked out by ennui or whatever, and so I'm super worried about. I mean, it's when I met Princess Julia and Jeffrey Hinton, like they were DJing in East London at like. So when I was doing research, going to these gay bars, and it was just freaks, you know what I mean? Like really amazing young freaks. Yeah. Who, you know, now there's people like Charles Jeffrey and stuff who are like dominating, like BAFTA award winning, you know, at Glastonbury with Tilda Swinton going like fashion major makeup people, you know, who at the time were just like little slum people DJing at like the queer pub or whatever. But like Jeffrey and Julia, like these people I thought were really cool and exciting and like had this like vicious style and like performative energy that like I was like a wallflower there. Like I'm not particularly like, I don't know, like it was just crazy. But I was interested in the fact that they were like so much older and they were DJing every single night. And like there was people saying like Julia has never spent a night home in 30 years, you know? And like, and I'm like, how the fuck do you do it? Like, I'm tired just watching. I don't know, like, just, like, and so I really wanted to know, like, I guess I was starting to feel like I was getting older. I think it was, I don't know, it was like sort of in my 30s, and I was kind of like, okay, what's going to happen now? It's cool that I can watch from afar and have this documentary thing, because I do love collecting information. Mm-hmm. And that's really what I saw. I think that like when you're making a documentary, it's just a way for you to like ask to see stuff and have a reason for them to say yes. Because otherwise you're not just going to be like, can I come to your house and look through all your shit?
Yeah, exactly.
And then if you're saying I'm doing a documentary, you know, they say yes most of the time. Or, you know, like I've been really lucky. But then at the root of it was, I think this is what you asked. Like at the root of it was like just me being like, so how do you stay interested and enthused and why am I so drawn to you and like how can I get some of that energy and like put that in a movie? Like that was kind of the thing. So then all the other stuff, like for instance the squats, you know, when we were talking about people making a movie, people making a painting, and how that all cross-pollinated or whatever, it really at the end of it has to do with being interested in contributing, you know, like, and that was like the punk thing, you know, like if you're part of a scene, like for the punks and stuff in Toronto, like I never really felt like I was contributing something.
Right. Yeah.
And so I always said I've never been a punk, because punks, like, you know, I think have to contribute to the scene. It's like a symbiotic thing.
It's a community.
Yeah. And so, so that was the kind of thing. It was me trying to figure out how to like put all those things into one thing. It's all pretty emo, actually. It's all pretty like self-helpy at the end of the day.
I feel like it's personal. It's personal.
Yeah,
it's a personal documentary filmmaking approach, which I think makes the most sense to me. It's like, well, what the fuck am I interested in? What do I want to get out of this? And then you're getting whatever you want out of it, and then there's other people that want to get that too.
And in the end, you are contributing.
Yeah,
you are contributing something, because these films live basically forever. These are the things that the younger versions of ourselves. They're the tools that we ourselves have used to like define ourselves. You know, it's like we found those random documentaries, or we found those random CDs or those albums or whatever. Like, there's things that like those gateways. In the same way, you making the film, it's the map that you're exploring. That map then gets like passed back, and like,
yeah, for me, watching like in high school, watching like the Joy Division documentary or some shit like that, you know, like that defined who I was, that allowed me some kind of insight into, maybe not Joy Division, but you know, into some kind of world. Wait, are you best friends with Joy Division?
Oh my God, can you introduce me to Joy Division?
Would you like to meet Ian Curtis?
But like, you know what I mean? Those things are really important. And I think that's part of the reason we do this, which is like talking to people like yourself and talking to other people who've been on the pod and trying to get inside the reason that they do those things. For whatever the fuck reason, because we're interested in it, and because it's good for us.
And
you know?
In the sort of giving back kind of thing, it is really funny. I'm just thinking of this now, but something similar to even just like this podcast and like documentaries and things like that. It's like, you know, in the same way you were talking about, like, again, the sort of map and discovering people along the way and throughout. It's like having you here, the connection, if you were to draw a map of connections of guests we've already had on, and it's not like you're just like, it's not even like obviously we're here to talk about your film, but you also fit into this world that we're sort of documenting at the same time. You know?
Yeah, sure.
It's like you mentioned Sarah Millman, Rob Gordon, Kat Duma. It's like it all connects in like funny ways.
Well, it's actually even, you know, but good. Like, there's other projects that I've wanted to do, and like when I was doing my first movie, like the kind of queer map thing, you know, like if I go to LA. With my first movie, went to LA, and I should just leave it at that. Why do I have to say like? Why do I have to debunk how cool I am?
Yeah, no, fucking
no, but like if you go there, people will inevitably say you have to meet so-and-so, you have to meet so. Yes. Oh, you guys. And you think that things are so much larger than they are. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, especially with the internet, like, it's kind of a small map of people in each city that everyone ends up knowing each other, because it is this idea that I'm talking about needing a community is the worst word. We have to say something else, but like a new word, a network, or like a network, or like a kind of obvious, like a web of like of contact that is inevitable and wicked. And
it's awesome.
You know, we talk about that in the movie a little bit, like at the end when Scarlett says like designers used to fuck each other and now they fuck each other over and stuff. And like that is a true thing that can happen. But I think it's also because the themes in the movie are about how hard it is to survive.
Yeah.
And to get your work out there and to even have a format to do it, because all of those sort of things have been, you know, distilled down to kind of like online presence. And that's, in my opinion, created some really amazing creative movements and networks. But like, I think that's also why I wanted, so with the Fifth Column movie, they were all about like, mythology, and you don't know anything about them, blah, blah, blah. So I like put everyone in that movie like in a cartoony stakes. I didn't want to know anything about them. I was celebrating like the mythology of rock and roll, and I loved how people had like punk names, and they were kind of like abandoning the patriarchal whatever that you know their family names, and their punk names were kind of like a reclaiming of their, or like a claiming of their actual independent identity or whatever. And then with this one, because I had such a personal idea of what I wanted to do, was what I was saying. Like, I really wanted to, no, like, forget about all that shit. Like, how are you still here? Like, what keeps you interested? Like, so because the New Romantic thing is so much about clothes, like really early on in it, I was like, fuck, like once I did get money for it, I was like, am I just going to make a movie about clothes? Like, because I was doing my initial interviews and I'd be like, okay, politics, racism, sex. And they were like, no, just makeup. And I was like, fuck. So like, I was really worried at one point in time that there was no story there.
Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't until I started freaking out that I started asking them about like the things I was freaking out about. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to show them like just as looks, as clothes and all that stuff. I wanted, and that's also why the bands fell away too, because it was really very much about these people and the people in the movie. I think that the personalities come through so
100%
strongly. Like my crew that were there, they had no idea what they were walking into every day. And like the personalities are like pretty extreme and the settings are pretty extreme. So some days they'd be really upset and some days they'd be really like excited and same as me. And I guess that became central to me. And then also like another crazy thing about what we're talking about are like mentioning people and everyone ended up knowing the same people. Like as I started knowing more and more about these guys, I was seeing music videos and stuff from when I was a kid, like seeing Nana Cherry music videos. Nana Cherry was like best friends with Judy Blame. Judy Blame styled Bjork's first album cover. Crazy. Judy Blame did all the Nana Cherry videos, and then I started watching the Nana Cherry videos like from when I was a kid, and then I saw Judy Blame as an extra in the background, and I started recognizing jewelry, Massive Attack. Like I started seeing like Judy Blame and all that, and then the threads just got like really, really super intricate and could go on forever. And like that's the bad thing about needing money and being able to go on forever, because you're kind of like, well, now we can add this, now we can add this.
Now you're just opening new doors to keep going. It's like how do you end a documentary then?
Well, I knew that I didn't want it to get into acid house and stuff.
Okay.
I knew that I wanted it. I guess the AIDS thing really like level stuff, and I don't think that we knew how we were gonna end it. And then we were editing it during COVID, and I don't know, like I was a pretty pessimistic person, you know, or like I don't know, but then and people were dying, like Judy died when we were editing it, and like something optimistic started happening, and like because I was asking everybody in the movie for the answer, for the definitive answer, and what you were saying is like as like creative whatever, like there is no end to it, you just want to keep on looking for that thing that you can never find. It's like I guess I'll just go with this thought, like the Faith No More song Epic. I remember when I was like in grade 7 or something, this guy turned to me, he's like, you know what that's about, right? And I was like, no, yeah. And he was like, it's about orgasming, because like you can't, what is it, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, it's like you know, but you're always chasing it. And I was like, oh yeah, I know, because I orgasm all the time. I'm orgasming right now. And but it is that kind of thing where you're always chasing it's gonna feel this way when I finish the movie, it's gonna feel this way when, you know, and it never feels like that. So I can't remember where I was going.
Well, I was gonna say like wake up. What point? How did you?
Oh, how do we end the movie?
At what point did you say like, okay, we have everything we need? Maybe with the exception of archival footage.
I guess what. Well, like 2 days ago, and there's still more I could sneak in there. But like up till 2 days ago, I was like, I wrote our online editor, and I was like, just sneak in this one shot. I can't sleep, but it's needed in there. And so like it's still going, and now it's like done. Like as of this week, but. In terms of the ending, I didn't want to use AIDS as like, well, I guess that sounds horrible already, but you know why? I don't want to use this as like a story, as like a plot line. But I guess what I was trying to get at was this idea of searching everything became central to it, and because I was hoping for them to say, well, we didn't give up art because of this. No one was able to say that, so then that ended up becoming the answer to the movie. Is like, well, shit happens, like really bad things happen, and I think that it probably did matter that really bad things were happening when we were making the movie, because like we didn't know how, you know, like a lot of friends were dying and stuff like that, and it was like bad times, and somehow found some lightness in the not being able to answer the question. And I think Dougie Field was just like, well, you just go on, and then all of a sudden you go out and you see some kid in the street, it looks wicked, and you're like,
it's happening
okay,
still.
like that's amazing. And so it just became about that. And then Judy, blamed. Just said, like, I'm going to fucking do this till I die. And I'm not. Because I was asking Judy Blame, because I was in Judy Blame's apartment, and he had all this jewelry that he was designing for Ray from Comme des Garçons.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, we weren't allowed to shoot it or anything. I was like, can I try it on? He let me try some on. Like I wore the jewelry he made for her before she did.
Yeah.
Ray. And that was pretty exciting. But then he, did stuff for like Louis Vuitton, like Dior and all these like, blah, 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 blah. And he was talking about how he wasn't, like, he was renting his plays and how he couldn't afford, like, if a Vivienne Westwood handbag came out, he would have to save up for it.
Right.
And I was, like, dealing with my own, like, very much just, like, dealing with my own bitter-ass questions. And I was like, don't you feel angry that you're making, like, the 1% of the world look so cool?
Yeah.
And you can't afford the bag you want or don't get given? He was like, fuck no, I don't want to be like them. Like, I don't want to. And I was like, oh my God, you're so punk because I want the handbag.
Yeah.
I wish he had said that. But he didn't. And that was the kind of amazing thing to me. And so the answer to the movie ended up just being like, well, you have to have like a spirit that is cool.
Yeah.
So like all these kind of weird, I guess, like, the term of our decade is like toxic, but like these weird, like this gross longing that I had for some sort of answer to everything.
Yeah.
So then the movie really, I started to really love the movie once I realized that, like, because I didn't want it to be like, there is no answer. But then somehow it ended up, I think the ending is like really kind of conflicted and it's kind of like shit. I think I always describe the ending as like shit happens.
Yeah.
Get over it. And like this kind of, emo, like, just what's the word, like self-destructive energy that I'd always had, like really, like a nihilism or whatever. It's like, I think like growing up or whatever ends up being sort of like, I don't know, confronting that.
Yeah, totally.
And so in even though the movie doesn't have like a super positive ending, a lot of people are bummed after they see it. A lot of people feel really great, but like, I like that it's kind of open-ended and it's like, I don't know. I feel like any artist that watches that, or I hope that any artist watches that, will relate to that in some capacity. It's not a bummer.
It'd be real about it. I don't
think it's a bummer at all because I think that what you're like highlighting is showcasing that in the end, the movement and the work is important.
And
and it's not about money. It's not about like, in every scene we've all been through and seen different scenes come and go. There's always going to be the two that kind of like weasel the way out into the mainstream and make a lot of money. That's just the way it's been. And once you get to a certain point and you're like a certain point of like of absorbing culture, you realize that those big ones aren't the coolest ones. The coolest ones are the ones that didn't necessarily make it, and those are the ones that I think it's great to showcase.
Well, that's another important thing about it to me is that like I realized in all those years that I was worried about not contributing to a scene or whatever, actually people are. Like, I think that, like I said, just by going to a club and being part of that energy, God.
No, but it's true.
You know what I mean? Like that energy of
totally
like,
true.
I'm seeing you at like, like I would see you at every DJ thing or come watch you play or like just be in the crowd. And like,
the only reason these things continue to exist is because people were actually there.
Because people were there.
One was there. How wouldn't exist.
How do you feel after making this documentary, like coming to Toronto and seeing the scene and looking around? Like, do you have kind of a newfound idea about it or
about Toronto
or just about like general, or I guess modern day cultural
because here's the thing that I would say in comparison to someone like Austin who's a bit younger than I am, and so when I was watching and we can talk specifically about the squats and stuff, but I, not to say my friends were squatting, they were renting lofts, but there was still very much this sort of idea of a bunch of creative people living in a shared space. And having the cheap enough rent to work a couple days, and you have the painters, the photographers, and musicians, and everyone kind of collaborates on things together, and you have parties and blah blah blah. And I kind of weirdly feel like maybe it doesn't exist for your generation.
No, I don't think it does. That's what I'm really interested in. Is this seems to me, I have someone that's always romanticized these past cultural movements, these scenes, these things.
Well, same. I mean,
yeah, and of course, but for me, it's like especially romantic because it does not exist, or if it does exist, it's very, very small and very, very niche and very, very minute. And
nothing is a scene until retrospect.
After the fact.
Yeah,
you know.
Okay, so that's my big question: is do these things actually exist, or is it only in hindsight?
It's true. I don't know.
I mean, the thing is, it's all just about people like me or whoever that come along and package it. Like, I just packaged this in a way that made it seem like it was a scene. I could have made a movie about the New Romantics and called that a scene. That was something that was packaged and it was tidy and whatever. I was kind of like, oh, well, okay. So, like, I had seen these images. My favorite movie was Hail the New Puritan by Charles Atlas, which is, like, heavily featured in the movie and in the trailer. Huge fan of this artist. And he did a movie about Michael Clark, Hail the New Puritan. And when I saw that when I was way younger, it was just moving images and dancers that I liked and clothes. As I got older, I found out it was Leigh Bowery. And then as I got older, I found out that was Body Map. And then now when I pause the party scene in that movie, I can literally say, there's Les, there's Scarlett, there's so-and-so, there's Fat Tony, there's all these people, like, and that's why it's so important to say, like, well, just being there actually does really matter. And like, so you can package anything that you want as a scene. And for me, it was like, by featuring people like Judy Blame and Body Map and like more on the fashion end of things, it was a way of putting them there physically, like everywhere, without it being about like who was on the scene. It was like a quieter way to show that everything is present. And in terms of me coming back and like, well, during making this movie, because it's taken so long, people like students have started asking me about stuff that I was doing in Toronto, because I was friends with like amazing artists like Will Monroe and stuff like that. And people want to know, like, they're kind of fetishizing that. So having done that to people like Bruce LaBruce or whatever, and constructing my own idea of what it was like to be a punk in the 80s. Yeah. What'd you think of Madonna, you know, and stuff like, and my own, and like also like people conflating bands and stuff like that. Like I have friends who like Tad or like shitty grunge bands that were like the worst band. Or people,
well, I was just gonna say,
people put like Korn together with like L7, and you're like, bro, that is that is not how it was.
I was just gonna say, well, what did you think of Korn?
I kind of like them for one. I liked that song All Day I Dream About Sex, and I like,
great song.
I don't know. I like how like unique their sound was, and like even I saw this like really. I was at a leather bar yesterday, and I saw this like old man wearing a Slipknot shirt, and it blew my mind because I was like, I can't even think of one Slipknot song.
Wait and Bleed.
Sure, but I just
that's the nostalgic era right now.
Yeah, no, but this guy was not. This guy was like way older than me, if you can imagine that. Like, he was way older than me and had a Slipknot shirt on, and I was like, dude, like, what's your favorite record? Like, give me some pointers, because at the time I was being a snotty like 20-something, you know, and now I don't give a fuck. So I'm just like, yeah, okay, sure, let me give Slipknot a try, whatever. Like, you know, and so in terms of like scenes and stuff, I don't know. Everything's changed, and I'm not like so deeply invested in it. But I do know that like I find myself I'm a complainer. Like I'm always like, you know, with Toronto and everything, it's hard when you're always looking somewhere else for inspiration to find it where you are. Yeah. Now, I'm lucky enough that I've always been around, gravitated towards, or like just like stalked people like Bruce LaBruce and brought them into my life, and had like an amazing experience being part of like whatever that world is. And he's always kind of hung out with like younger people too, and like had that energy about him. And like there's so many people now, I'm like looking back at things, and I don't know if there's a scene per se. And like I think with the whole, like, because dance music has taken over everything's so hardcore, it's like a little bit homogenous. But
I agree.
Yeah, that's a big thing we talk about.
But it's like, you know, when we went to Talvy show that night, and it was like all those like grunge bands. It wasn't her show, but it was like all those bands playing and everything, and like
that was sick.
And there is this thing like like this isn't a podcast about being elderly, but it's like those dudes, what were they called again? Like
9 Million?
Yeah, 9 Million. They were like, this is a cover by like a band called the Jesus and Mary Jane. And I was like, fuck.
A band called.
I'm like, oh my God, they're like introducing this band. I'm like, it's happening. It's happening. I was like, dude, I gotta go. And like, but under their wicked, it was great. But I was just kind of like freaking out. But I think that in a place like Toronto, it's like, it's not really like a style city. It's more like a shopping city.
Yeah.
You know, so in terms of like fashion being the thing that makes you notice people, because people can put on clothes and look way more interesting than they are.
But this is what we were talking about before you came on. We literally had this conversation. We were talking about how it feels like the long gone are the days where, you know, what you dress like represents something bigger than you.
Yeah, or who you are, and
it's or where you align yourself within, you know, whether it be a scene or a style of music or
the cultural sphere. In
general.
Now
it's like none of it like seems to make any sense anymore, and it's like,
I don't know. I'm conflicted about it because I've said this a bunch, but like. I really hate the idea of people saying kids these days or now versus then because I love kids these days, especially like when I was in London and making this movie and was like, this shit is crazy. These people are crazy. But London's a different beast, you know? Yeah. But in Toronto, in a way, it's good because it makes it so much easier to notice people who have style and that are like, okay, you're like, oh, weirdo, and you know we probably know the same people. There's like 10 of them, if that, that are like true, just like fuck the world. But the rest of it is like that idea of like remixing things. So you're taking what you thought was a scene in the 90s, and then looking at magazines, and the 90s are back. But there's so many things happening in the 90s. It's not like Christina Aguilera and fucking Korn were hanging out. But now you see kids, and they look like Christina Aguilera dressed up as Korn, and it's sort of sweet. It's like. It's like there's a lack of depth of knowledge, but I think there's a new vocabulary being made by that. So it's like kind of, I think, more valuable to try and understand what that culture is, even though so it can maybe seem a little bit vacuous or bottomless or whatever, but it's still cool. And I think that it really requires a cool person to take it forward. Right. You know what I mean? Like everyone can be dressed a certain way because the internet and like TikTok-y, everything is like so just visual segments of things that don't have any like roots in anything.
Yeah. Right.
Which is cool, but then it can just be kind of like putting on things and not at the end of the day expressing anything about yourself. Yeah, exactly. So it's really easy to see the people who are kind of true weirdos. Yes. And so I don't know how to talk about that now because I'm curious about it. We all are. What somebody from 20 years from now will think about that. Maybe we won't value scenes as much. And also, aren't you getting fucking sick of seeing movies about the scene or just the words the scene? What was the scene like? And I was like, what scene? Like,
but this is something I think is actually really important, the scene. Like, I know we get shit all the time for apparently like trying to like talk about a scene or curate a scene or something like that. But why the fuck is a scene bad? A scene is just a group of like-minded individuals who are working towards artistic pursuits and helping each other in that endeavor.
But people aren't hearing that. They aren't hearing working together, vibing off each other, supporting each other. It's people's insecurity and then being like, well, I'm not part of the popular kids. And it's like, well, where the fuck were you?
Yeah. Exactly.
Go to the club.
Exactly.
Like, where were you? It's not our fault.
You're being a hater. You're not. That's why you're not a part of it.
It's like when hipster became a word and everyone thought hipster was such a bad word. Yeah. And a friend of mine, Alex Malacco, I can't remember exactly what she said, but it stuck with me. She was like, what are we supposed to just all wear fucking beige?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, is that what you're supposed to... Is that some sort of radical movement? And like, I guess in a way that would be kind of cool. But like, I don't wear beige. But yeah, I think that's the whole thing. This idea of elitism and because with my first movie and this movie too, there was tons of people who were like, oh, well, they were all snobby. And that was a question I asked all the new romantic people, like, well, you guys are really cliquey. And they were like, we don't think so. Yeah. We thought we were a big family. Yeah. And that's what a scene is, right? Yeah. It's like, and also, what are you going to do? What are you going to are you going to babysit every person that you meet in the...
That's my belief on it. It's just like, get the fuck over. Like, you're the narcissist here who thinks that everyone else is like hates you.
Yeah.
No one's thinking about you. Yeah. That's the fucking problem.
Yeah.
Like, come talk to us.
In the
come talk to anyone.
Art faggy days of like the early 2000s, like there's people, we were all hanging out in the same thing. And then as we got older, we would start talking about what that experience was like. And people were like, oh, you guys were so snotty and like, exclusive, and you never talk. And I was like, honestly, I didn't know you were like there. You were probably really nice, but I just was like with my friends at the bar, and like, and I probably just didn't have much to say. It's probably just like, so we're at the bar now, and it's like, and then it gets perceived, and then some kid will come along and package it as a scene, and will place me in the movie as the close friend of that person who said I was a dick.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about making movies. You can just do whatever you want.
Full fictionalization. That's sick.
It's true though, but it's funny because I always think that I was very anti-scene up until like maybe 2 years ago. Like most of my 20s was just like not a fuck the scene, because I very much, you could literally pinpoint any scene that I was a part of based on my friend.
Well, Josh, to me, was the scene that I couldn't infiltrate when I was like 20.
Really? I was there.
Yeah, you guys were both. But then I got over myself.
Loser.
But the point is that like I just feel like I was always trying to just be like, no, this is just not like you were saying. I was looking at it more so as not a cliquey insular thing, but more a group of friends making things and sharing them with each other. Exactly. And I guess the internet, you know? And but that being said, as over the last couple of years, I've realized that word doesn't have to be something negative. I think the idea of like a scene is more so just literally, which again goes back to why I loved the film so much, is that
the movie.
The idea of a scene doesn't have to be about one thing specifically. At the end of the day, it's like a bunch of people just being freaks together and being like, we get along because we're fucking interesting people. Like that's what brings us together. And then like,
I know amazing people who like make clothes, and people who are draw comics. And like my friend Eric Kostick Williams right now is an incredible artist, and he's off in New York promoting his new book, 2 A.M. Eternal. It's amazing. Hey. And like, everyone's doing their own thing, and you're kind of like excited. You should be excited to be around the people that you know. And it's not like you all have the same clothes or anything. That's the whole thing too about the new romantic thing is that I was talking about. That's why I don't like saying new romantic, because that gives a person who can envision what that looked like. Everyone thinks that they look like fucking pirates or like whatever. But actually the whole thing was, it was criminal to have anyone look like you,
right?
So it was a collection of people who were like, no, I'm the pirate guy, and you're the like frilly doll girl, and like, don't you cross my pirate, thing. And like, I think of it more as like a crew, like especially like
exactly
DJ crews and stuff. It's like, oh, who's DJing night? Oh, it's like Josh and that crew, and it's like, oh, cool, like I can envision that because they've played together. They get a DJ gig. Who are they going to play with? I'm going to call my friend in my crew who I like, or like someone that I like to come. It's not like you reach an echelon and you have to work your way to that. It's like...
It's like me and my friends are going to do a thing, and you and your friends should come.
Yeah.
That's like all it really comes down to.
And if I've never heard you play a record...
Yeah.
Well, why would I even know? Like, I don't know. It just, it's not rocket science. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I see how that all sounds shitty, and I think I have been privileged to a certain extent, like my time in Toronto, like, but I always went, like, it's the same thing with London, like I went, and the same thing with Fifth Column, like I kind of went to them, like on my own.
Right.
I was still part of my friend's crew.
Right.
But by my own, like, interests, like I was kind of, okay, well, I'm gonna ask about this band, and then I'd go to the bar and I'd tell them about the band. They didn't care.
Yeah.
So it's not like we were all sharing this experience.
But here's the other thing that I think about often when I think of building yourself in and around the things that interest you. When you were talking about the idea of like somebody being there and being like, oh, that guy was a dick or da-da-da because they didn't talk to me. You know what? That person probably stopped going to those things. Yeah. Now, when you think about anyone that we've, like even us just becoming friends over the years, I couldn't tell you how we became friends, but you know what? We kept being in the same room over and over and over so that the first time, maybe we're just like, hey, that's that. And then, you know, a year later, we're like, oh, hey, you know, because it's a dedication to liking the actual thing that you're going to. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute.
If you're
like,
going there,
You know, and also you're not going there to be beyond something. You're going somewhere to be comfortable.
Because
like
you're interested in it. You
yeah,
like it.
And like it's not like every night that I went out and saw you, I was like stoked to be there. Sometimes I'm just like, this is what's going on, or like, here we are. You know, it's not like lock the door. The crew is here. The scene is here. No one shall enter. There's a fucking moat. You know,
scene is here.
Yeah, it's not like I don't understand that perception. Although I do understand how, you know, it's important to feel and how scary it can be to not feel. And like, to be honest, to this day when I go to London, and like I was so happy when I could stop going to all those clubs, because I always felt super nervous being there, because I wasn't like, wah! Like in drag and all that shit. Right. I was just kind of like more interested and always kind of felt like a bit of a mooch to the thing, you know? And like, I was really happy once I could stop doing that and just kind of look at the creativity of it all and just be like, yeah, like that's the interesting thing about it. I don't really have the interest in being in like cracking a scene or a crew or or whatever. And I think that maybe what could be perceived of me being parts of certain scenes is just like when you're younger, really, and just like kind of engaged more socially on a social level. So the interesting thing is when you're kind of like not so in need of a social group to help like fortify your identity and everything, because that shit obviously matters. Like look at the whole gay thing, like that, all that stuff matters. Anyone, you know, like having that sense of comfort and also being like making the effort to crack that kind of thing. Like that's what I did. Yeah. I was in college and like just knew people who wanted to make action movies, you know, and I started coming downtown alone and going to like the Queer West thing and like rolling up to people like Will Monroe being like, hi, I don't, and then just kept on doing that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's the dedication because you actually cared.
Yeah, it's not like there was a fucking initiation or anything. It's just like,
welcome to the scene.
And it was the same thing with London too. Like I just kind of kept on showing up until people would be like, "Oh, weird Canadian guys here, still," you know, and then that's kind of like, I don't know. I guess I don't want to sound shitty for people who feel insecure or perceiving like
I don't think
cultural things as like they can't crack it, because I think it's important for people to, if they have something to offer and don't really have the vocabulary to share it or whatever, I think that it is important to do that. But I don't think that being part of a scene or a movement or anything really exists until it's in retrospect. And then you repackage it, whether it's through a documentary or through just nostalgia or like not remembering because you probably were there and you were drinking and like you can just make it up all up anyways. And like, I think it's sad to kind of say, and that's something I'm glad about Tramps too, is like, I don't think that the movie, and still, even though I know it's the easy way for people to say and for me to say too about the New Romantics or whatever, but I hope I didn't make a thing about a scene, and I hope it's about a diversity of creative people who like inhabit each other's places.
I think if anything, it captures how the diversity of these people interacting in the same space maybe projected a scene, but
to the world,
but it wasn't. That wasn't what the film was about, you know. And that wasn't what you were doing, was capturing the projection. I think you were going beyond the projection.
Another really amazing thing about it was early on, you know, when I was just trying to catch like plot points and stuff like that, I'd be like, so what did you think when Boy George got really famous and no one else did? Did you hate him? And because they're, you know, they can be like, and they were like, no, it was hilarious. Like, we loved it. Whether they're full of shit or not. Like, you know, it doesn't always have to be about like resenting the other person who you perceived as getting something that you didn't get, or like
Right.
that
Yes.
the epic, the Faith No More moment, like, and I'm saying that honestly because like I, you know, making this movie or anything that I've done, I'm always like, it looks so much easier for everyone else. It just looks like they are getting the Academy Award all the time, and I'm like, just nobody even knows I'm alive, like that kind of thing. Like you're always comparing, well, I'm always comparing myself to someone else. So I wanted to put that in the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny that that's something that I feel like has existed constantly. It's like I've felt that way. I've been a part of a scene or whatever and had, you know, Mac DeMarco come out of it and go, well, that guy just bought a fucking mansion in LA, and I'm like, look at me renting. You know, it's like these are the things, but my point is, did I just go, well, he did it, gonna stop making music now? It's like, no, it's like that's not the way it, you know,
Because it is arbitrary and it is nepotistic.
yeah.
You know, and for me, I want to meet everybody. Like, I want to, you know, I'm trying to be like, yeah, I want to contribute to this conversation.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to have some sense of security around that. It still eludes me, but like, you know, that kind of thing, like comparing yourself to other artists, it's like, well, it is really, really like arbitrary.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you know, you could probably hear like 10,000 people that sound, especially after he got popular,
Right.
like Mac DeMarco, but like, you know, even from his crew,
Yeah.
you know, like they're all like, those guys were all making kind of similar sounding music and actually sounded like that crew of people. And, you know, but one of them got really famous or whatever. And I guess it's shitty because I can imagine you kind of being like, but we all do that too. Why did he get picked, you know? But then it's also like, how do you bring your crew up
Yeah.
with you or whatever?
Yeah.
And I'm lucky because like, yeah, like I said, a lot of my friends, like even like Kat Dima's record being made, like while making this movie and everything, it's just kind of like everyone's kind of creating something.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're surrounding yourself with people that you don't resent.
Yes.
You know,
Well, because it's also not a competition. You
No.
know? You're not in competition with your peers. And if you're viewing it like that, then you shouldn't be a part of any
This has been something
friend group or whatever.
you gotta look at yourself, bro. You gotta look at
It's
yourself.
also like you think about the great filmmakers of like the Steven Spielbergs and Martin Scorsese and stuff. Like George Lucas was able to make Star Wars because Francis Ford Coppola made The Godfather. You know?
Okay.
Because like Francis Ford Coppola was like, you guys should check this guy out. You know? And so it's like that's how these things happen.
Yeah.
Is one person does something and then the other person helps the other person do that thing too.
Right.
But also, I like how lately, I don't know where I've seen this, whatever, but a lot of people are asking those guys, like, who was actually a shitty actor? Or who was like a douche back then? And they'd be like, Robert Redford was a total prick, you know, because they're kind of like, at the end of the day, they're just a bunch of boys. And
Yeah,
are kind
exactly.
of like, oh, hey, you know, like, and they're just kind of razzing each other back then. And like, they get put into this weird archive of legend. And I think that like it's interesting now, for whatever reason, that it comes out that it's like a bunch of dudes who are like, of course, obviously it was a much smaller pool because it wasn't on the internet or whatever. But like, I think especially in Toronto, like, well, this is kind of shady, but like that's something that I wonder about now in Toronto, because I do see a lot of younger friends that are trying to make stuff, and Toronto has this weird, or did, for whatever reason, I guess because of broken social scene or some shit, like have this reputation of being like, everyone's just together and helping each other, because 500 people in the band. And so that's all of Toronto's artists, and they just love each other, and it's a magical utopia. And you're like, oh yeah?
Not at
Oh
all.
yeah? Come and check out the music scene. No one's fucking helping each other.
No
one is helping each other. You want to talk about a scene? Like... And so I think to glorify that kind of thing is also kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
Because then that's going to make the person who's in Toronto trying to do whatever feel like shit. Because they're like, well, I thought it was a magical place. And you're like...
I've never heard that about Toronto.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. Torontopia.
Oh, yeah. Torontopia was a thing.
Damn.
I was actually talking about that with someone today.
Damn.
It's a bunch of crap.
Damn. Who knew?
Well, for those that don't know what Torontopia is,
Yeah,
can you
Oh,
tell
sorry.
Can you explain what it was to Austin? Like,
I don't fully remember, but it was like... I guess around... who became more famous first, Arcade Fire or Broken Social Scene? Well, they both got famous because of the band The Hidden Cameras, which was a queer band that was like basically people who couldn't play instruments and coming from the beat happening kind of like world.
K Records kind of stuff.
K Records kind of like making an orchestral sound out of, you know, a bunch of people who were like art students basically. Yeah. And then Arcade Fire became super, inspired by them, as did Broken Social Scene. Both great bands. I'm just going to say it on your fucking podcast at the time. Whatever. It was special. Yeah. It was great. Yeah. It was great seeing everyone. But then because when they got this sort of like, and Pitchfork wasn't really even a huge thing, but I think those bands kind of were happening when Pitchfork was getting like whatever blown by the universe. And because there were so many people in their bands and everything like that, and then like other bands I don't even want to mention, part of that world, it was perceived like one big family,
right?
But then it was really just a few bands had 20 members in them, and they're like so many of my friends' bands or just people that were happening in that time. It's not like they were like all in a big Care Bear stare, like it was just a couple bands who had a lot of members.
And so this was deemed by media as Torontopia because of this.
I don't know.
I was a little too young for this. I was like,
I wonder if Toronto made that up or if Pitchfork made that up.
I feel like Toronto made it.
Yeah, probably.
That's kind of my theory,
like a city thing, being like you should move here because everybody
kind of
loves
like
each
it was
other.
just like classic desperation for like acknowledgement or like or something like that.
Well, I think I guess the interesting thing here is that it's the two levels of it. It's like it's important to have competition, and this like kind of rivalry between bands. Maybe not rivalry, but so that you're pushing each other. And then B, it's good to have peers and of people that you support and engage with and help each other grow.
But I don't think that the Torontopia thing is a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's dumb when you think about it in retrospect, and it's not true.
That's why.
It's just another example of something that wasn't true.
Yeah.
And this is not a diss to those bands, but probably it's like saying that they were referencing the Hidden Cameras. Yeah. The more interesting stuff, there's nothing topia about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like all the bands that we were seeing, your bands or whatever, you like in Torontopia, like it's just like, I don't know, it's just silly. It's just silly to package everything in one idea. And actually the thing that I loved at one point in time, because of all this, actually, it's unfortunate that the movie didn't end up being like that, but I wanted to skip punk entirely because I just didn't want to talk. I didn't want to say the P word anymore.
Yeah.
Especially because my first movie was like punk, 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 punk. And I was just like, Mariah. Like I was not listening to punk at all. And I wanted to kind of prove that I wanted to disprove the way that we have been taught about like how history happens chronologically.
Yes.
Like the New Romantics came out of punk, and the New Romantics turned this. Nothing turned into anything.
Yeah.
Like at the same time, industrial music was being born. Like out of punk rock, and industrial music was like fucking blowtorch. It was the real blowtorch. So I was like trying to talk to Cozy Fanny Tootie. She was just busy with her book, but out of that squat thing, I was talking to like Coombe, like Genesis Peerage, Cozy Fanny Tootie, people like that who were using squatted spaces as a place to work and to live.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh, can we just draw a new line? And then just because of time and money and contacts, it just and also when I went to London and was trying to skirt the issue of punk, the emotional reaction I got from people about the Sex Pistols and stuff that, me going through like the record store days being like, Sex Pistols aren't real punk. They're like a boy band. A lot of bands that were formed by somebody are like pretty good.
Yeah.
And just seeing how much and how emotional that was for a lot of these people, I was like, actually, I want to put that in the movie. I want to. It's like I wanted to find a new language about it by using industrial music, and also just like seem cool.
Yeah.
But then I was like, well, maybe like say something nice about the Sex Pistols. You know, like.
Well, I also love that little section at the very end after the credits roll. There's like that little Sex Pistols bit as well, right?
Yeah.
Like in the, I don't know what you call those things, but as the
credits like post credit, like credit tidbits. I don't know what they're called either, but I just love that part. You rotter, you dirty fucker.
Yeah, I wanted to before we've been going for a little while now, but before we
really?
No, we got time. Before we I'll have to edit that part out. Anyways, what I wanted to bring up is I wanted to talk a little
before we get to the most exciting part.
No, I wanted to talk a little bit now and to switch gears for a second, because you've referenced it many times in this conversation, the record store days, because it equates to so much of what Austin and I have talked about in sort of the age gap between us, which is what, 10 years?
It's a little less, yeah.
A little less than that. But it's like enough, but it's enough that there's little things that just like, I experienced that he didn't, and that's things yeah, it's like things like that. So for example, we talked
like 7 or 8. But
whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. No, I guess you're actually right. It's not 10 years. It's like,
dude, even like 3 years is a lot.
No, it's like
especially nowadays,
especially now.
Yeah. But my point is that the record store days, we talk about these things and we talk about, my experiences going there and just like how funny it is and just how different things are. And a lot of it kind of always goes back to my idea of like, not even determination, but like when you go to something enough, that's the best way to prove to anyone, not that you have to prove to anyone, but it's the best way to prove to yourself.
Yeah.
That you like actually care about this thing. And so going to the record store days, and I know we talked about this like a month ago and had a really hilarious conversation
at like 4 a.m.
like 4 a.m. and it was very funny. So we won't just rehash that entire conversation. But what I will say, just for Austin's sake and for people listening, is because it's funny, and you can defend and say that it was not true, and maybe it wasn't true. But I was talking about just less about. I never said that you were the mean record store asshole clerk. What I did say was that it was the style at the time. That was what you expected. You go to a cool record store, you're gonna get some bad service. You're gonna get people judging the records you're buying. You're gonna get, it was part of the culture. And you know what? Looking back, obviously it was scary and intimidating, but I fucking loved it. Like, I look back on it fondly because it was exciting.
And it was part of the thing that I think we've said before that reinforces your taste, because you're like, well, if I'm going to have to face judgment for this, I better fucking like it.
I better enjoy it.
Well, I think it's really like a kind of like judging. I really do think that it's a self-consciousness thing.
Yeah.
And that if you go into a space projecting that kind of thing, like that's the experience you're going to have. Exactly. And whatever, like I said, I was there for a long time, and I got hired like on the spot when I was in the midst of experiencing being intimidated by these people, and like it was just really strong personalities, and I didn't realize that I had a strong personality quite yet. But like there was like the really Kevin Yonke, the really jaded kind of like, and then there was Esther, like the metal, like hot metal girl. Sorry, she was hot. Esther, you were hot. And and she just like seemed really like mean, and then like the scary old owner, and like everyone kind of, it was like cartoony.
It was, yeah.
And I think that the beginning, my cartoony thing was like the in the closet, like I love everything, and like electro was becoming a thing, and I was like, I only have one sleeve, and my hair is like this, and like electro, and it was like kind of a switching of the things. Everything was like punk and metal up until then. You know, it was like. So a lot of people, believe it or not, are like, you're the reason I came into Rotate, because you were gay and like you were friendly and da da da. But then like when I was working on Unlovable, like 10 years later, there's still drunk guys coming up to me being like, you were such a dick to me. And I'm like, or were you just really insecure? And I know that you were insecure because I was too, like going in there. Like I felt like a total imposter, but I always think about it, and I'm like, at that time, there wasn't such a huge indie.
Yeah.
There are great record stores in Toronto but
that was like
are treated more in a dominant kind of like catch-all kind of department store type thing.
Yeah. Mm.
So for sure, Rotate was like the first independent record store in Toronto, and like for me, because like that's my family, is my like familiar place, like kind of the coolest, most altruistic one.
Yeah.
And then you get into these conversations about like elitism and exclusivism and blah blah blah, and why is that better than any other record store or more altruistic, you know, in terms of musical or whatever. Because it's old and like things have changed, you know, sure, things have changed. Like those other record stores are great now too. But I just thought at the time, if the records that we were selling were shitty or worth judging, like, isn't it on us?
Yeah, I was going to say, you're the ones buying them in the first place.
Yeah, because at the time, like, they wouldn't, I remember like Mariah's records came, like the Emancipation of Mimi came out, and I was just like, at that time I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, my thing is I'm just like, this is me. And like before Beyonce was solo or whatever, I loved Destiny's Child, and everyone thought it was ironic, and I'm like, no, listen to this flow, listen to these weird rhythms, and like this is an amazing band, and like, and they all thought it was some sort of ironic thing because irony still was a thing. And I remember like after I worked there, it was like, I can't remember which pop star, but like maybe Miley Cyrus or somebody like that, like had a record that everyone wanted, and I remember Rotate ordered it, and I was like, ooh, shit. Okay, that's the end then, isn't it? But like, you know, when the Emancipation movie came out, I made them order me a copy, original copy. Now it's worth like $1 million, and I own it. You know, when everyone kind of, now it's a catch-all. We all love pop music, and we all like punk music. Like it's like everything.
Yeah.
Like everything is cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting now to look back at that, because I just thought I was so excited about everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be cool.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be cool. And like, if anything, I think that I was never trying to be ironic about anything. If I liked something, I was just like, well, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
A lot of people still think my obsession with Mariah Carey is like an ironic thing. And it's like,
Nope.
You want to ask about it? But, because I do perceive her as punk, but it's another podcast. But yeah, so the record store thing, I don't know. It's really weird. It's really weird how important it is to everybody.
Yeah.
And I think it does fall into line with what we're talking about. This kind of weird, cheesy theme that we've been pursuing conversationally about like believing in yourself and going to the record store, because it really was. It really was a kind of scary thing. You're like, it was like going into like ego war. You know, and so I think that like to feel perceived as judged is probably because you are interested in cool things. Yeah, and it's not, you know, so that part of that is being perceived as cool by the thing that you're buying. And
I think, like I was saying, like I remember literally being not even like scared to go in, but being like, you know, I would take the subway to Bathurst, take the streetcar down, get off at Queen of Bathurst, and be like, all right, we're going to the store.
I'm getting nervous just now, just even thinking about it, actually.
And like, you know, you walk in at Queen of Bathurst, you look at the thing, you walk in, like, no one really says hi. Maybe you said hi, I don't know. But
the only version of this I have is like a skate shop. I didn't have this, like, record stores. Well, first of all, I like that. I went to some in high school, but it wasn't a scary thing.
It was
different. It was different when there was no... I do not want to say there was no internet. That's another thing about Tramps. I never wanted anyone to say, and there was no cell phones back then.
Right.
You know, I think, you know, so like, you know, if anyone says that in a documentary, it's got to be a drinking game.
Yeah.
And there was no internet, you know.
Yeah,
they say
so
it once in my movie, and I was like, this has to stay because he's making a point. But like,
well, it's about photography and stuff like that. It was a important part where there was a
camera. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like records. It was like CDs. Yeah. You know, it was, I don't know. But I think just being young and trying to form an identity is just like a really like, it's a really high tension sort of time. And so no matter what, you're going to perceive those memories as being like really loaded with all this judgment and perception and also performance. And, you know, I think because of the era that we're talking about, this high fidelity thing, and also that fucking movie came out when I worked there, and so everyone just, I never even saw it. Like everyone just like put that on us, like I was a TV character, and I was just like, because people were really like, it was really like being in the public eye working there.
I never thought about that movie having.
Oh my god, it's all people ever talked about.
I didn't even put that together.
I mean, it actually happened quite late until when I was working there, but it's like all people would talk about because they did characters of everybody. And then if you do look at Rotate at the time, or probably any record store anywhere at that time, we're all like cartoony versions of each other, you know?
Yeah.
And like, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's like a great idea for a movie. But
like a workplace sitcom at a record store.
Yeah, a workplace sitcom. But I do regret that people felt like I was a dick at any time. And I, again, it goes back to me feeling like I'd been there for 8 years and I was like really depressed and kind of like feeling stuck and just going to shows like every single night. That was like my life forever, which is great. But it's a lot of like stagnation and stuff. So at the end, I definitely was a dick. And I was only listening to Morrissey and Mariah Carey exclusively. I had no interest in anything. And then it gets back into kind of like the Tramps thing, chasing that. How do you stay interested?
Right.
Because that was such a shitty time at the end of that I, you know, when I started my first movie, essentially I was like, okay, I got to like reframe. I got to remix this stuff and like, and sort of find something interesting. It's not just in this thing. So whether that's looking at a history or something to move forward to, like how can I find something interesting for myself so I don't just become like this puddle of like disdain,
Right.
You know? And I don't know, like I actually did not really like a lot of record stores that came later and turned into like the whole kind of like Glee Club thing. Like, hey, you're like,
yeah, that was the record store era that I grew up in.
yeah, I like it now, but it was an adjustment for sure.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that's the thing is people always talk about youth culture, like it's this thing that's like, I mean, I do like to think of it as a thing that generates new ideas and generates new scenes, but new crews, but. You know, there's a reason why all these movies exist about awkward kids trying to find their way in life because, like, really, it's all just projections of shit and whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And then the only thing to cure it is like fucking decades passing and someone making it into a total lie and then getting interviewed about it.
Damn.
That's the only way.
That's a great fucking.
I think that's a perfect way to. I think that's a perfect ending to this episode. Well,
just email and send it before I regret anything.
Don't worry, it's all good. All right, Kevin, thank you so much,
thank you so much.
for coming through. This was very fun.
Yeah, long-awaited interview, and thank you so much for taking the time.
No,
right now because I am very stoked about it.
And
our pleasure.
For everyone listening, Tramps is it's not premiering, but it's screening.
The theatrical premiere on June 22nd in Toronto at Hot Ducks.
And there's an after party.
Ted Rogers Cinema.
Woo.
And there's an after party at the Dance Cave, which is like a legendary 80s.
The Dance Cave, that's so sick.
I haven't been in there in like decades. I haven't actually been in there since the era we're talking about,
That's
like where they
so
used to play
perfect.
like Rammstein and stuff. And that's gonna be cool. Jeffrey's coming. Jeffrey in the movie, if you come out and see it, is gonna be projecting those videos we talked about.
Sick.
And Kat Duma is gonna DJ. And then it's gonna be on the internet later this summer.
Wicked.
Sweet. Yeah. And then I'll be part of the crew.
Drinking figure, freaking tit, tweaking love, biting ass, licking shit, stabbing motherfucking spunk, loving ball, busting cock, sucking fist, fucking lips, smacking thirst, quenching cool, living, ever giving, useless man. Useless man. Ooh, licking piss, drinking figure, freaking tit, tweaking love, biting ass, licking shit, stabbing motherfucking spunk, loving ball, busting cock, sucking fist, fucking lips, smacking thirst, quenching cool, living, ever giving, useless man. Useless man.